reading app, as I was saying, is a scientific move. It's a universalizing move. You're pulling yourself out of something that you know all too well, right? So what Chomsky is saying is we need, if we pull ourselves out of language, out of the our immersion in it, right? Um, and when we're immersed in language, all we see is difference. We see people speaking different languages, different codes, different idioms. But if we pull ourselves out of it, right, if we get some distance from it, we can then see the commonalities in language, okay? And this is a move that Chomsky pushes in order to create a more powerful analytic mechanism for language. So this can be applied to reading in general, and I think it's a pretty good move, right? So instead of the idea of reading the same old text, or this text is different from the other text, it's sort of looking at reading or text in a more uh, general, more distanced type way. So I think that can be a useful approach, right, if you can do it, right? Uh, but with the question for the Claudia Rankin and Josh Charles text would be like, you know, pull yourself out of it, right? So instead of your initial reaction to it, right, on an emotional level, what would be like a more scientific or systematic or sort of logical response to it? Okay, because a lot of times when you get emotionally involved in a text, either positively or negatively, you lose a certain objectivity. Okay, and so if you can keep that objectivity, it can be useful in terms of reading text. And so Chomsky's Martian, that's the one sort of app. The other move is the Rosetta Stone move, okay, which the Rosetta Stone was, a seminal discovery back in I think, the early 19th century, late 18th century, where uh, a stone was found which had multiple languages on it, okay, um, and some of those languages on it were languages that we had lost. We no longer had anymore, right? And so this was like finding a reverse engineering sort of template that allowed us to rediscover language that had been lost, that we no longer understood. And so looking at text in general as a type of Rosetta Stone, right, is basically a same idea as the Chomsky's Martian type thing, right? It's looking at it in wonder,